The brave warriors of the ancient land of America were those who conquered rugged mountains, lived a hard nomadic life in the scorching deserts, and fought relentlessly against the encroachment on their native land. Hey everyone, welcome back to your channel. In today's video, we are going to explore the spirit of the Apache Tribe. The Apache are a group of culturally connected Native American tribes that historically lived in the southwestern United States, covering areas now included in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, and northern Mexico. The Apache have a long history of fiercely defending their territory. They fought against Spanish and Mexican invaders in the 17th century and Americans in the 19th century. Their bravery earned them the name Apache, likely derived from the Zuni word for enemy. Early Apache people were nomadic, which meant they didn't have a permanent home and moved around. They survived by hunting and gathering, and others relied on limited farming. They lived in two types of homes: wickiups, which were more permanent dome-shaped structures covered in bark or grass, and the other type is teepees, which were temporary tents, easy to relocate. For transportation, the Apache used a type of sled called a travois, pulled by dogs. When horses arrived in the Americas, the Apache began using them to pull larger travois, making their camps more comfortable. Apache tribes chose their leaders democratically. Tribal members respected their candidates, and a chief's position depended on the tribe's support. Trust between members and their leader was very important. Around 1750, as horses and guns became more common in the Central Plains, raids by groups like the Comanche increased. This forced Apache tribes living on the plains to move south and west. These displaced Apache began raiding other tribes and settlers for food and supplies. Raids against settlers moving into Apache territory continued throughout the United States' westward expansion and the acquisition of New Mexico in 1848. Sub-tribes. There were many Apache tribes, but three stood out: the Chiricahua, Jicarilla, and Mescalero. The Chiricahua, known for their toughness, lived in southeastern Arizona and raided nearby areas. They had famous leaders like Cochise, Mangas Coloradas, and Geronimo. The Jicarilla migrated southward from Canada and settled in the southwest in New Mexico, Colorado, and Oklahoma. The Mescalero were fierce warriors who defended their lands in Texas, Arizona, and Mexico. The Comanche pushed them out of Texas and eventually settled in New Mexico, West Texas, and Mexico. The discovery of gold in California in 1849 led many Americans to migrate west. This meant they crossed into Apache territory, creating tensions between the Apache people and Americans. This led to the Apache Wars. The American Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865, temporarily slowed westward expansion into Apache territory. However, the Apaches fiercely defended their land, fighting against the Union and Confederate armies they saw as invaders. After the war, the United States violated treaties with the Apaches, forcing them off their land. This began many years of conflict between the U.S. military and the native peoples of the Southwest. Cochise, a leader of the Chiricahua Apache, initially tried to make peace with the Americans. However, a tragic misunderstanding led to violence, and Cochise spent years leading his people in a struggle to protect their homeland. He was a brilliant strategist, using the difficult terrain of Arizona and New Mexico to his advantage. Eventually, Cochise agreed to a reservation for his people, believing it was the only way to ensure their survival. Geronimo became a leader after Cochise's death. He deeply hated being forced onto a reservation and repeatedly fled with his followers. For years, Geronimo and his gang avoided getting arrested by both U.S. and Mexican forces. His group became the symbol of resistance to Apaches. It took a massive military effort by the U.S. to eventually force Geronimo's surrender. General Nelson Miles was eventually put in charge of the pursuit. He used a strategy of relentlessly chasing Geronimo's band, making it hard for them to rest or get supplies. This constant pressure finally wore down Geronimo's warriors. On September 4, 1886, Geronimo surrendered to General Miles. This event is considered the end of the major fighting in the Apache Wars. However, smaller conflicts between some Apache groups and the U.S. military continued for a few more years. The Chiricahua tribe was then forcibly removed and held as prisoners of war for 27 years in various locations. In 1913, they were given the choice of land in Oklahoma or on the Mescalero Reservation in New Mexico. A 2000 census showed that about 57,000 people identified as solely Apache and another 40,000 as part Apache. Many Apaches live on reservations in Arizona and New Mexico, where they engage in farming, ranching, and tourism. Despite living in the modern world, they preserve their ancestral traditions and beliefs. The Apaches showing enduring strength and resistance is massively inspiring. Their legacy is etched into the mountains and deserts they called home. Do you know any other tribes with a rich culture and a brave history? Let us know in the comments. To get more videos like these, subscribe to our channel.